There we go. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the VRRC One Make Cup BMW 235i series here at Thruxton for round 2. My name is Daniel Handover, and joining me in the commentary box, as always, is the fantastic Mr. Dave Marshall. Dave, how are you doing this fine evening?
Yes, I'm doing very well, thanks, Dan. And as you said, we're here at Thruxton. I think one of the drivers' favourites for sure. And, you know, from a commentary point of view, to see the drivers as flat out round the track, I think it's probably the highest average speed in the UK as well, isn't it, Dan? So, yeah, what a track. It's going to be a hell of a race.
It is indeed. It absolutely is indeed. We were just talking before we went live. I've luckily only for a driving experience day, but had the privilege to actually drive around Thruxton. And even at sort of 8/10 or 7/10, it is a very, very fast track indeed. Obviously, Church Corner. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, there's actually one of the fastest, if not the fastest, corners in the UK of any racetrack.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think, as I said before as well, that sort of helps it become also the fastest, highest average speed on any UK track as well. So it's definitely one where, you know, you can save on the brake pads a bit, and it just requires you to have a rather heavy lead foot, really.
Exactly. Well, that's how I like driving. As you can see, yeah, so Rich Hayden, the clerk, of course, and race director is also, and Mike Yao providing us with some fantastic camera angles and an amazing broadcast, as always. So good to have both Rich and Mike with us for this broadcast. But yeah, Thruxton, it's definitely it's a track again I've not actually commentated on before, and again, so this is very, very new for me. And obviously, last round, granted, I mean, racing was really, really good fun. A couple of different things we weren't expecting. Obviously, a couple of spanners thrown into the works, and I'm probably hoping, well, I'm guessing, Dave, we're going to see some great racing similarly here. But look at that, Robbie Stapleford currently leading the championship only by 1 point. I know it's only the first round. This is going into the second round, but it does bode well for the remainder of these races.
Yeah, and it really does show how close it has been, Dan. You know, round one, you know, granted, we saw a bit of a separation in the pack. You know, the front pack sort of pulled away, the lead 5 cars, and then there was a sort of a pack further back that were also squabbling for the further back places. But I tell you what, from both packs there, the racing, I think you'd agree, was outstanding. And as you can see, Robbie's just ahead of Jordan Brennan there by 1 point, even though there was contact in the second corner of race 2, which has meant that Max Edmondson has received a penalty for that. So he ended up finishing a place behind Robbie Stapleford after penalties, and also he will start from the back in race 1 as well because of that. So clerk of the course decided that was the right action, meaning that Max Edmondson's dropped down to 4th in the overall championship, but you can see only 10 points behind Robbie Stapleford after the first round, so it's definitely still all to play for, but nice to know that the clerk's there trying to keep things all under check.
Well, exactly, yeah, at the end of the day, you can't... stuff will happen, you know, stuff does happen. It's racing, and you've got to try and make sure that, you know, you're there and nip it in the bud quickly, which obviously has been done. So yeah, at the end of the day, it's one of those things. You move on, you work with what you've got, work with the cars that you've been given, and obviously moving on to race 2. But I mean, to be fair, like, these drivers, like, anything that happens, they know what to do, they know how to push forward with it. So I'm sure they'll be absolutely fine.
Yeah, I mean, just a bit on reflection, you know, we both commented at the time of it and said, you know, it wasn't something that we could straight away tell that wasn't malicious. It was just a case of, unfortunately, a car coming together in a corner where it was sort of a bit unavoidable, but a driver lost out massively for it, and there was too many drivers following that closely to the car that, you know, caused it, that he couldn't really back off to give back the position. Therefore, the penalties had to be applied after, essentially. So I think it's the right decision, but I tell you what, if that action from round 1 is anything to go by, this round 2, round Thruxton, you know, with the slipstream, the outright speed, and the aggression on the brakes into that last chicane, this is going to be one hell of a battle tonight.
It is indeed. We're going to see some very, very interesting, very, very good racing, I'm sure. But yeah, like I said, really heavy braking that you're carrying, probably getting on for about 130, 140 miles an hour in these cars. These 235i's, these cars are not slow by any stretch of the imagination. And then when you put them on a track such as Thruxton, it is very, very fast indeed. Well, I mean, these cars, when they top out, you know, easily at 155, they'll hit the limiter. And obviously, I'm sure they can go on well beyond that. They're not going to reach that sort of speed going through Thruxton. But to be fair, Dave, they're probably not going to be far off. I imagine VMAX round here is probably going on for the 130, 135 mark.
I was going to say, I reckon it's probably not on close to 150. I will try and find out if I can. Yeah, I reckon probably 145, 150 by the end of the straight. You know, these cars are 380, 400 horsepower. They are very, very quick, very capable cars. And I was actually talking to the drivers before we started this, and there's some of the drivers that reckon if you get the line choice right and the car turned in, Church can be flat in these cars in fifth gear. So that tells you the sort of speeds that and the commitment that these drivers are driving at.
Yes, I know, and well, I mean, I'm intrigued to see. I'm intrigued to see if someone could do it flat. I mean, if they can do it one-off, then that's going to be impressive.
Well, I've just seen there, Dan, on an outlap, top speed of one of the drivers was 142. So,
wow,
yeah, we're gonna see them getting up, I reckon, sort of that 145 to 150 round Thruxton, which, you know, you would expect to see in, you know, some very, very serious supercars. So to do it in what looks to be a relatively ordinary 235i road car with a roll cage and a few bits of carbon, you know, it shows how capable cars are these days.
Yeah, I think that's you know, we've got the when you actually really start looking at it, and modern cars now, supercars of even 10 years ago, you know, we're starting to see, yeah, those sort of speeds and those sort of like 0 to 60 times and all that matched with cars like this. You know, this is a standard. Obviously, it has been fettered ever so slightly with, but the main bulk of it, you know, it's still a road car. You know, it's one of those things, but they're so fast, like they're much more easily obtainable cars now, such as your 235i's, your S3s and your RS3s and stuff. They're not cheap, I suppose, by, you know, relative terms, but you can get some serious performance for not really, in the grand scheme of things, not that much money. Yeah,
I mean, you know, definitely we're seeing, you know, the technology that used to be in race cars definitely filtering down into the road cars now. And needless to say, you know, we know what sort of program BMW has in the British touring cars, and I very much would have thought the technology used and gained in that championship has definitely played a part in shaping these M cars.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely would 100% agree with you. Meanwhile, in qualifying, though, we've already gone through just a few minutes. So look at that. Alex Toth-Jones is the man on pole position, number 669, 118.462 at the moment. He's got 3/10 clear. Actually, no, as I probably just say that. Robbie Stapleford, the man that we saw. We know he's quick. We know he's got some pace in this car, and that he's got pace in absolutely anything that he drives. So he's now in a provisional pole position. So Alex Toth-Jones about 3/10 behind. Great camera shot there, going down the Brooklands back straight. And there it is, Robbie Stapleford. That's a classic colour scheme that I've not seen for a while on a BMW. Wow, I'm trying to think what that was. What that sort of colour scheme was using. I can't remember for the life of me. Was it the old 80s M cars?
Yeah, I believe it was sort of the Group A era, wasn't it? The you know, big turbo, big 3-litre engine, I believe. Yeah, you know, it's a bit of a throwback to that, and a nice colour scheme. That means we can definitely spot Robbie out there on the track.
Yeah, I mean, he's
commitment through there.
I know, he's wearing like a high visibility jacket, isn't he? But yeah, people are definitely going to see where he is. And to be fair, the person that's actually going to have to look out for him in his mirror is Jordan Brennan, because he is now pulled over 3/10 on Robbie Stapleford. 10 minutes remaining, so I'm sure we're going to see that time come down. Look at the, didn't you say, commitment in bags there, as Robbie Stapleford absolutely flies over the last curve. Can't quite improve on his time there. Still 2/10 off. Yeah, well, sorry, he's improved a little bit, but he's only improved by about 1/10 and a half. So he's got a little bit more time to find to get over and get the position on Jordan Brennan. Before we go any further, though, Dave, we've got some prizes on offer, do we not, for this series as well. So I'll let you go over those a little bit, because as there's some good prizes on offer, and people love prizes, don't they?
Yeah, they do indeed. And, you know, we decided to do a cash prize for this championship. So as you see, first place prize gets £100, second £75, and third place gets £50. As well as, if anyone enters all of the rounds in the calendar, they also get a month's free VRRC basic membership. So yeah, it's one of them things where we can put products on offer as part of our championships, but we just thought, you know what, let's mix it up a bit, and let's bring a bit of money back into the into it rather than just product. And you know, as you see, it's definitely working out, and there's definitely drivers that definitely want that extra £100 in the bank account. So that's nice to see. And I was just going to touch upon in quali here as well, Dan. You know, with these cars being sort of converted road cars into a race car, if you like, you know, the cars are relatively good on fuel as opposed to a full-bred race car. And the tyres actually last relatively good on them as well. So we're not going to see in qualifying, you know, the likes of them only doing 2 or 3 laps coming in and then going back out again. You know, these cars can probably quite easily lap a good 8-9 minutes on the tyres and still set exactly the same sort of lap time. So we won't really see that much of a performance drop off over a short period of time.
Okay, interesting to see. So, well, like you said, we'll have to keep an eye on that, which again, it's going to make it even closer, isn't it? So, I suppose it gives people the opportunity to, rather than focus on the tyres and having to manage those tyres, they can really sort of get the hammer down, and which is what we want to see and watch everyone that is watching wants to see, is racing. You know, which and who doesn't want to watch some racing? Oh, Simon Ree is going for a small excursion, a bit of grass cutting. That is going through. It looks to be Goodwood. A really long right-hander. One thing I've noticed, having driven the sim as well, obviously at Thruxton, is Goodwood seems to go on a lot longer than you naturally first think. You almost think you can get wherever you think you can start getting on the power has to be a little bit later, I feel, because otherwise it just tends to wash wide a little bit, and it's very, very difficult to try and get it back if the front end starts going. I don't know about yourself, Dave, but
yeah, and it's also one of them really frustrating corners where if you do get on the grass on exit, because it's just still a long sweep and right-hander, as you said, you just can't get back on the track because the car just keeps wanting to wash onto the grass. So that's definitely one to watch when it goes into the race. You know, we need to be really careful here whether, you know, if the two drivers end up side by side there, it can be a really, really high-speed crash.
Absolutely. I've just seen on the timing tower there. Look at that, Alex Toth-Jones. He's pulled out nearly 3/10 on Jordan Brennan, nearly 4/10 on Robbie Stapleford. So Jordan Brennan in P2 now. He's going to really have to get the hammer down to catch up with those 3/10. But that great time from Alex Toth-Jones. Really, really good time indeed. So let's keep an eye on what happens for the remaining 7 minutes of round 2, the round 2 qualification session. Also, actually, Dave, before we go any further, let's talk about big thing we're talking about. A very, very big thing. We've got a lot of exciting things, and one of them is being League of Champions 2. Now, how popular was League of Champions? This is going to be bigger, better. There's more going on. It's just the lineup that there is. It's going to be very, very exciting indeed, and I can't wait for it to get started.
Yeah, you know, we've tried to make it, you know, as big and as good as we can, and you know, it's luckily, you know, sort of come around the time when we're really trying to launch our rigs company as well, where we'll be making, you know, custom chassis in custom colours. So that's really, really exciting. And in launch of that, you know, we've got the backing of AOC monitors, which is fantastic for us, and you know, it's a fantastic opportunity to promote some fantastic products that sell as well. So yeah, it's going to be bigger and better than ever, a slightly shorter, punchier format than it was originally going to be, and also a mix up of cars there where it's a mixture of front wheel drive and rear wheel drive GT cars. So definitely you want to watch out, and if anyone wants to get involved, be sure to check out the Facebook page for Virtual Reality Racing Club, and join the Discord and join some of the banter at the moment. It's rather good with little teasers here and there regarding what tracks might be coming up and things we might be doing with pictures and eras of cars and things like that. So yeah, it's all quite interesting at the moment.
It's going to be. I'm very excited. I am very, very excited for it to get underway. Mick Sutton though just goes on for another lap. He's currently at the moment in P8. Still quite close to the front though. Again, the top 3: Toth-Jones, Brendan, and Stapleford, and then a bit of a gap to Davey in P4. But then, actually, to be fair, not a very big gap between Davey and O'Farrell, which is just over, or near as makes no difference, 1/100th of a second. Big slide there for Mick Sutton, going out of that looked to be a Seagrave. I think he was going out from there. And so big slide. One of the things these drivers, they do have to watch out for. They're going to have to be careful, because a slide like that, especially with how much on throttle these cars are going to be, any slide that's going to tank your speed going down any number of these straights. And even 5-6 kilometers an hour, that's going to be quite sizable all the way down somewhere like the Brooklyn Straight.
Yeah, definitely. We saw it last round at Croft. You know, the drivers that were running traction control were really, you know, was great out the hairpin where it was really slow, and the back end was very easy to step out. As we see Jordan Brennan there go pole by 1,000th of a second, 1,000th, Dan. I believe that has to be the closest pole lap I've seen in my commentary career, I think.
To be fair, it's definitely one of the closest I've seen. I would agree with you there. But Stableford's got some time though. This could be. Granted, we've got one person with 1,000th of a second difference with two people, P1 and P2. I mean, Stableford, that's 0.3 per second. We know that he's got the pace. He does. We've seen him pull out some incredible performances in qualifying beforehand. And could this very well be one of them? He's only got 3.5 minutes left to do it, though. So I really wonder what's going to happen. But even so, again, like 0.3 per second, it's quite a sizable margin, especially around a 1:17 lap. So I don't know. I mean, I said we're going to have to see. 3 minutes and 14 seconds left. Alex Toth-Jones, though, currently the man in P2, has had a bit of a moment. And so did David Stapleford, had a bit of a moment for a second there as well. Oh dear, that's a broken windscreen. And it looks to be, that's heavily left-hand down. I don't think Toth-Jones will be able to drive that car around. He's going to have to probably tow back to pits or something. Because that's going to be a very, very slow inlap.
I think that's more than just a bent steering rack, isn't it?
It's probably a missing wheel.
Yeah, I think the thing I noticed there as well is Jordan Brennan went fastest again in Sector 1 on the following lap. So that really shows that Jordan's actually got some real serious pace here. But, I was talking to Alex before the race as well, and he was saying, Thruxton's one of them tracks where, he's always enjoyed. He's drove it in real life. He's qualified pole in real life there in Giannetta's. It's one of them tracks that just seems to click with him, and it requires, as I say, just keeping your right foot in when you want to lift it, and he just seems to have that knack of just keeping it in and pulling the lap together. But as I say that as well, looking at the timing sheet, Jordan Brennan on his fastest lap was 144.4 mile an hour down that back straight, and the nearest person is 1 mile an hour to that. So it just shows Jordan must have had an extremely good run through Church onto that back straight, and he's definitely not lacking commitment going into this race.
Yes, I think that is. We're going to talk about this quite a lot, aren't we? We're going to talk about the commitment. You're going to have commitment, and that is about as much commitment as you can get going through Church Corner with Jordan Brennan there. Warming his tyres though, so he's still not quite up to pace, but that looked very, very fast again through Church. Interestingly enough, though, obviously we talked about the track limits again. We talked about these. So track limits, obviously, red and white curb. You can use that as an extension, and all of the drivers going through the club chicane are really utilising that to their advantage, and they're really barreling it over the last chicane. Although I've noticed again a couple of times the car can get a little bit squirrely on exit, especially actually going over those bumps. It can really upset the balance of the car. Simon Reed then making up his own track as he goes through Church Corner. But yeah, I'm wondering as well, like, it seems to be you've got to hit that last chicane a certain way. Otherwise, if you don't, it really, really upsets the balance of the car. You end up losing a lot more time than you initially thought you were going to gain.
Yeah, so with the last chicane, we said to drivers the white line is the limit. You've got to have one wheel within that white line at all times, unless if you get to a bit of painted curbing, which then that's the extension of the track, not the green painted curb. The as we see there, the blue, red, and white checker. That last chicane is one of them where you come up over a crest. We might see a perfect example here by Alex Toth-Jones. Up and over that crest is completely blind. It doesn't look it, but you can't see the entrance to that chicane. The only thing you can just about see is the tops of them yellow sausage curbs on the inside of that left. There is actually the checkered paint underneath them yellow curbs. So as long as you sort of get the car rotated in, you can aim over the top of them yellow curbs and know your lap's going to still be legal. And that's all you've really got to go off.
Interesting stuff. Okay. Well, I mean, again, it goes to show the muscle memory kicks in, though. I think that's when you've got to have the confidence to actually really make sure that you can put the car in a position that you know it's going to stick. But yeah, look at that, qualified already over. Qualifying's already over, and at the moment, Brennan is still provisionally pole. We've just been told that Alex Toth-Jones is a man on an absolute mission. He's already about halfway through the track, so he's got one more. He's going through Goodwood for the last time in qualifying. How is it going to go through Church? He's going to be absolutely committed. He's going to put 110% through that car. What is it going to be like utilizes all of the track, no more than he can do. Look how much Kirby uses, and again, any more than that, then he would lose all of that time gain. Club corner for the last time.
Fastest sector 2, Dan. Alex is really on a push here. It's all going to come down to this last chicane for Paul lap. Can he do anything? But Robbie Stapleford is also still on a lap. You can see they're perfectly getting the yellow curbing. And I believe, has he gone into pits there, or did he hit the wall? So he must have lost his time through the delta. Jordan Brennan's going to call it a day. Robbie Stapleford, I believe, is also in the pits. So there's our pole sitter, Jordan Brennan, by 1,000th of a second.
I mean, if that doesn't say anything about how close the drivers are, but 2, how close in the racing's going to be, then I don't know what will. 2 races here, and we've got 2 drivers, 2 of some of the fastest drivers you can get in AC, and they are within 1,000th of a second apart. Now, I've not seen that before. I genuinely cannot say I have ever seen that before. In a qualifying session, and like I said, myself and Dave, we're both in the same boat. But yeah, there is your full qualifying order. So Jordan Brennan takes it by a whisker with Alex Hoth-Jones in P2, and Robbie Stapleford has to settle for P3. Lawrence Davey in P4 with Tom O'Farrell in P5, Simon Reed P6, Mick Sutton in 7th with James Haskell in P8, Simon Thorpe in P9, Max Edmondson in P10. That is your grid. I believe not too long, and then we're going to have the old man in the commentary booth. But we haven't seen him yet, so hopefully we're going to be able to chat with him in a few moments' time. But this really, actually, as I say that, he's actually just popped into the broadcast chat. So, Dave, I'll let you have a chat, and we can have a catch up with the pole man.
Yeah, so we go down to the interviews here, and Jordan, that has to be probably one of the slimmest margins you've ever got pole by. It's definitely, I think, probably the slimmest margin I've ever seen. Couldn't be any finer.
Yeah, it was a bit close. I'm a bit annoyed with myself because I was 10th and off the lap after, but we still got it at the end, so it's fine.
Yeah, we did actually comment on that. You know, you went purple sector 1. And Alex Hoth-Jones as well was also on an absolute flyer on that last lap. I don't know whether you saw that, going fastest in sector 2. So, you know, I definitely don't think it's done and dusted in qualifying. I'm extremely excited to see what's going to happen in this race. You know, you're both almost on identical pace, but Robbie Stapleford has to be a bit of a worry there. You know, you've probably seen what he can do in pre-practice as well. Is it the consistency that you're going to have to think of in this race, or, you know, are you going to work with Alex to try and really push forward?
I'm not too fussed. I'm just going to go for it. Whatever happens, happens. But I'm just trying to have fun here.
Yeah, well, I guess that's a great attitude to have, Jordan. And to be fair, that's when sometimes we see some of the best drive, when the drive is just nice and relaxed and goes out and does it for the fun rather than feeling the pressure. So, yeah, fantastic pole lap there by the slimmest of margins. And yeah, good luck going into race 1.
Cheers, thank you.
That is one. I mean, I think he must have been lying down there, Dan. That is one relaxed pole sitter.
It was really, considering the gap was so close.
Yeah.
If it was a fact, he's another 10th there. Nah, it'll be fine. Just gonna go for it. What can happen? What can possibly go wrong? You know, it's. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen Jordan Brennan that calm, even with bigger gaps to his pole positions, of which he has had a good fair few. So, I mean, predictions, I cannot honestly say I have any predictions at all. I genuinely do not know what is going to happen. I mean, Brendan reckons he's got some pace. We saw Alex Hoth-Jones who had some pace. We saw Staple that had some more pace in him as well. Like, this could go absolutely anyway.
Let's not forget about Max Edmondson as well, Dan. You know, starting from the back of the grid here in race 1, you know, I've seen the timing sheets prior to qualifying, and Max has got some serious pace here. So, you know, even though he's all the way at the back, he's definitely got to be the pace for, you know, pushing for a podium spot. You know, all it's going to take is a little bit of, you know, contact, or, you know, a slow start where they're like, you know, tripping over each other at the front, and Max is going to be laughing because he'll just come through the pack and, you know, really try and put the pressure back on them. You know, it's definitely not the end of the world there for Max, or vice versa. You know, if he just has a nice safe race at the back, he's almost guaranteed then reverse pole. So, you know, he's got a nice sort of, you know, plan ahead of, you know, multiple options of what he can actually do there.
Yeah, I think, yeah, you're right. It's actually, I suppose sometimes as well, like, he doesn't want to be the back, obviously. But yeah, Max Emerson, like I said, he's got some options, isn't he? So, yeah, I mean, it can go absolutely any way. It can really, really go any way. But hopefully we're going to be finding out in a few moments' time what happens at
I'll tell you what else, Dan. Just looking at the way the grid's lined up there, look at Robbie Staleford on that inside line, inside of Alex Toth-Jones. If he doesn't get that corner defended early into the right-hander, wait and see what happens.
Exactly. Well, we haven't got too long. The lights are on, ready to go for round 2. Here we go. Who gets the run? It looks to be... That was Jordan Brennan getting an absolutely fantastic run going through. Who is going to be the person? Yeah, it is Brennan. Nice and easy into turn 1. Toth-Jones, though, and Stapleford having a bit of a battle, though. So who is going to be the person that comes out on top going through the Campbell, Cobb and Seagrave complex of corners? Going to be a potential. I thought it was going to be a late move. Actually, I thought it nearly was. Toth-Jones decided he wanted to send up the inside of Campbell. Couldn't quite make the car stick, though. Tom O'Farrell going side by side there with Lawrence Davey. And he makes another position. That was a very, very good move indeed. Up to P4, a bit of sideways action on the exit, exactly what we'd like to see. At the moment, your top 3 still stay as they are. Brennan, Toth-Jones, Stapleford, Lawrence Davey. He wants to make a move potentially on Tom O'Farrell, so he might lose out on another position here, although actually he's got to be very, very careful. He doesn't want to defend too hard, though. This is the actual thing. If you compromise your exit, especially going through, like we say, keep saying, going through somewhere like Church, you're going to really, really hurt yourself going down all the way down this back straight. And that was Mick Sutton having a bit of an excursion by the looks of it, as well as Thorpe. He's dropped down the order as well. So James Haskell has been promoted into P8, though. But look at that. Jordan Brennan, he's having to go defensive from Toth-Jones. Similarly as well, actually, he's not actually been able to. So Reed's actually going to get past Lawrence Davey by the looks. They're going to go side by side. But that was a great move there from Reed up the inside, going through into Club. Okay. That was a very, very interesting first lap, but it's still not going. It's still going on. Lawrence Davey is going to want to make a move back going into Allard. Is he going to make it? They just about managed to go through. Oh no! I thought that was going to be a great bit of door-to-door action there, but just Lawrence Davey just loses it on the exit with that bit of contact.
Yeah, that was, you know, unfortunately very, very close to working out absolutely perfect. You know, what an outstanding first lap there, really. You know, watching that action, we've got this 3-way battle at the front. Tom O'Farrell's hanging in there in 4th place, and look at Max Edmondson already up to 6th, battling here with Simon Reed. Is he going to try and go around the outside? Is this into Goodwood, I believe, Dan? What a move that is to get up the inside. Simon Reed's going to be now in his slipstream, but we were talking about this earlier, how much slipstream these cars actually have. You can see they don't have a wing on the boot of the car. They're relatively nimble here. As we see, Simon Reed goes up the inside into Church. That's incredibly brave. Max Edmonds going to hang on the outside. Great race and respect there.
Oh, it is 100%. They're going to get like side by side against Church. That is brave, if ever you wanted to call it a word like that. But is he going to try and outbreak himself going into? Oh, they're going to go potentially side by side for a moment. No, they don't. So Max Emerson goes all 4 wheels. Oh my god, he turned into an airplane there for a second. Wow. I mean, honestly, I know BMW hark back to where they used to be making plane engines, aeroplane engines, but I didn't realise that they were going to go back to that so very soon. But yeah, I managed to keep it all in check. That's one of the things. That compression in the suspension, that must have been a very, very hard hit. So Max Emerson keeping it very, very doing well to keep that on the straight and narrow when that car came down. Now on the rear view cam of Jordan Brennan's 235i, he's not pulling away as much as they thought he was going to. He's pulled 4/10, and that doesn't really equate to too much. You've got Toth-Jones 4/10 behind, and Stapleford another half a second behind that. So the top 3 at this point have just absolutely checked out, with Tom O'Farrell 3.6 seconds behind Stapleford. Although, look at that, Jordan Brennan, he's pulled out another 1/10 of a second as they go through Church. Again, absolute commitment going through there. Great camera angle, actually, you can really see. What I've noticed, you can see there's quite a lot of suspension movement. These cars, they don't necessarily roll. I wouldn't call it rolling, but they compress quite a lot, don't they? There's a lot of... the suspension is actually quite soft. Who's going to go side by side there? I think Robbie Stapleford tried to go around the outside of Toth-Jones. That was going to be a very, very brave move, but unfortunately didn't quite work. So Toth-Jones has dropped a little bit of time because of that, though. It's amazing. It doesn't take too long, does it, Dave? If any little bit of racing happens, you automatically, it's amazing how much time you can drop so very quickly.
Yeah, exactly that. And you're right in what you're saying. You know, these cars are a little bit softer than what you'd expect to see in a normal race car. Max Edmondson here, right at the back of Tom O'Farrell, giving him an excellent race here, you know, that just tucking in there, trying to show where he is. Tom O'Farrell's going to hold the inside line here. Is he going to force Max Edmondson a little bit wide? Max Edmondson's going to hold it on the outside, but he has to back out there. You see Tom O'Farrell still had enough car in front going into the right-hander there, that if Max Edmondson had committed through the right there, that was straight into the door of Tom O'Farrell. Great defensive driving there.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. You saw Tom O'Farrell, like I said, yeah, he was well within his right to continue with his normal racing line, and Max Edmondson wasn't too bad through the left going through into Cobb, but Seagrave, though, he was very, very compromised, so he did have to back out to actually try and make sure he made the corner and to obviously not make contact with O'Farrell. But back at the front, P3 on board with Robbie Stapleford. He's there or thereabouts. He's a little bit closer this time around to Toth Jones. He's actually going to get a nice clean run going through. How does he negotiate this complex last the club chicane for another lap around? He seems to be okay. It almost looks like, I don't know how quick. It's very, very hard to tell again because these cars like got some suspension suppleness, but that is
Jones.
It's gone very, very wide. That's not going to compromise him too much. Actually, I tell a lie. No, it is. Who is going to now be the person that's going to come out on top? I really don't know. It just saw the timing tower that it's going to be side by side. Toth Jones squeezing him out, but Robbie Stapleford is not giving up without a fight. Has to concede though. So very good there for Toth Jones to keep it all in check even after that excursion. That's going to be a bit of dirt on the tyres as well. So he's got to actually compensate for that. So to keep it in front of, let's be honest, one of the quickest drivers that we've got in VRRC, that's very, very impressive.
It is indeed. You know what? Alex was running wide there and I could see it start to happen. He did very well there, you know, to keep it on the power as we see him go very wide there. That's exactly what I was on about before, about getting on the grass and you just can't get back on the tarmac. I tell you what, Alex is going to have some fire in his belly after that one because he's going to have to try and catch up back on Robbie Stapleford. But this might be the break that Robbie needed to try and close that gap with Jordan Brennan. They were starting to drop away from him, and I've seen Robbie's laps behind Alex. He's got the lap time that Jordan's doing, so he needed that clear air to get onto Jordan Brennan. But we see here Max Edmondson round the outside into the chicane. Is he going to brave it round? No, he isn't. Tom O'Farrell's going to just hold him up there. You can see Max Edmondson's trying to find a way through, but Tom O'Farrell's doing a great job of making that car as wide as it possibly be.
Absolutely, he's put his car exactly where it needs to be. So yes, Max Edmondson still cannot get past O'Farrell at this moment in time. But O'Farrell's going to have to go defensive again, going into Campbell. So who is going to be the person coming out on top? This is going to be a role reversal this time around. So if they go through the left, go through the right. So going into Seagrave, this is exactly role reversal. Is Max Edmondson going to do what he did? Well, he doesn't actually need to because he was already ahead before they were going into Seagrave. So O'Farrell does actually have to now concede the position. So he's now dropped down into P5. Max Edmondson, can he now pull away? The pace that he's got, he's not out of the woods yet though, because it does depend if something does happen a little bit. Well, it depends if Max Edmondson can keep it all on the black stuff, which I'm sure he can. Like, so we've seen the pace that he's got, but yeah, this is the pace now showing out. Obviously, he started at the back, worked his way up to P4. He's got 8.5 seconds though to Alex Toth Jones. That's a big old gap. So he just needs to, he's already pulled, what, half a second now from O'Farrell. So if he continues to do this, he is going to be comfortably in 4th position. But again, 12 minutes left. Anything can happen in the remainder of this race.
We can, and as we just see there, Robbie Stapleford, the fastest lap of the race, 0.3 of a second faster than what Jordan Brennan's just done. Robbie is the guy on the move here, but actually, as I say that, no, I tell a lie, Robbie Stapleford is still the fastest on track at the moment with the fastest Sector 3 by quite a considerable margin. So Robbie Stapleford is the one to watch. Watch for that gap between him and Jordan Brennan. Alex Toth Jones needs to go with him, but saying that, there's not going to be that much pressure initially there from Max Edmondson. 8.3 seconds back from that.
No, you're right. I don't think they're... Well, again, like, we don't know. There's 11.5 minutes left of this race. I mean, we're not even halfway through yet. It's very, very up in arms though. We still don't really know. But yeah, that gap, 2.1 seconds between Brennan and Stapleford. Is it going to come down? Like, as Dave said, we need to keep an eye on that. Mick Sutton's car, though, has seen better days, unfortunately, but it all looks to be okay. Like, still got some pace in the car. He's about 1.3 seconds behind James Haskell and I wonder if he's going to be catching him up again. We're going to have to we'll have to keep an eye on that gap as it comes down, or if it comes down, I should say. So that may be a race that develops later on. We'll have to keep an eye out for. Is that Jordan Brennan that's just set a personal best?
The game is on. Jordan Brennan's just gone a tenth faster than what Robbie Stiltford did last lap, so he's definitely responded. And Robbie Stiltford actually having a particularly slow lap there, a 1:18 dead, which was half a second slower than Brennan. So Brennan's definitely got a little bit more left in the tank there. He's definitely got the potential over Robbie Stiltford. But as you said, 10 minutes left of this race, and Thruxton's such a fast track. All it takes is to miss your turning point by less than half a car, and you've got to back out so much, loses all that momentum, or you brave it, keep your foot in, run it wide on the grass as we saw with Alex Toth-Jones, and you just always struggle to get that car to rotate further right and get back on that tarmac.
That's the thing, it's one mistake, isn't it? It's one mistake can cost you all of that time. You know, that 2.4 seconds, whoa, as I say that, look at that, commentators cursed there, didn't set in too heavy though, because that was just a small little off for Jordan Brennan, so he's still, even though he's got 2.4 seconds in the bag, he knows that he's still got to push.
Oh, he's still pushing. Oh, he's still pushing, all right.
And I think that proved it there, didn't it? Going out of church, again, running onto the grass. Didn't actually lose any time though, and he's again pulled out. The gap times have stayed about the same. Look at that, 1:17.566, 1:17.631 for Stapleford versus Brennan, and a 1:17.9 for Toth-Jones as well. So the top three all in the 17s as race pace. Bear in mind they were doing obviously similar lap times in qualifying, so these guys are really on it at the moment. And there is neither of them, I think all three of them, the top three, even though the gaps they're slowly extending. Stapleford has just pulled out another couple of tenths. Brennan's just pulled out another couple of tenths on Stapleford. He just cannot afford to let off. It's like you said, if anything happens, then that gap is just going to disappear.
Yeah, exactly that. And actually, I'm looking back at that gap between James Haskell there and Mick Sutton. I believe that was up at 1.5 seconds, and Mick Sutton's actually crawled that there back, and it was down to nearly 1 second there, as we see, 1.1 seconds. So there's another battle there that's really starting to develop, and we might see Sutton really starting to put some pressure onto the back of James. As Jordan Brennan, yet again, extremely wide through church. I don't know whether that lap was actually legal. It might have just gone over the edge, but if it was, you can see Jordan Brennan is really pushing this to extend this lead.
And to be fair, it's working at the moment. 2.7 seconds is now the gap. So he's pulled out another couple of tenths this lap alone. What is it going to be over the line? You'll see it in the top left. Another 1:17.5. What's it going to be for Stapleford? A 1:17.6. Yeah, another 10th out between Brennan and Stapleford. That is the fastest lap of this race at this moment in time. Whoa, Max Emerson. What on 1:17.2? Max Emerson's just done. So he's actually pulled out 1.5 seconds since we last went on board with him. He's pulled out about 1.5 seconds on Alex Toth-Jones. That is a very, very fast pace. And at the rate that he's catching him, no, he's not going to be able to catch up to Alex Toth-Jones, but it's going to be close. Look at that. I think Simon Reed has just got past Mick Sutton. So Mick Sutton's had a bit of an off somewhere. Not really sure where that was. You just saw on the timing tower that changes over. Final quarter, we've just been told he just decided that he just went off for whatever reason. Just went, a little bit of a pirouette we didn't talk about. So bit of a 360, but he seems to be all on his way now, going again on the timing tower, as you can see. Probably Stapleford. So he's the man. Again, 2.2 seconds. He actually pulled out. I wonder if I think Brennan got held up a little bit with traffic there. So that's really, really helped. Stapleford pulled down about 0.5 of a second from himself to Brennan. But yeah, Max Emerson, Dave, he's just absolutely flying.
Yeah, it really is, and it just shows, how much he was struggling behind Tom O'Farrell there in the dirty air. As soon as he's got out, what this guy could have done in qualifying, maybe, what ifs. That lap time is, stunningly fast. I'm sure the drivers will be definitely trying to see what he's done there, ready to go into race 2 to try and find any sort of advantage. But yeah, Max is definitely the one to watch for this race 2, isn't he?
Oh, 100%. Yes, he absolutely is. And obviously, with the reverse grid, he's going to be in front of all the people. He's going to be in front of Toth-Jones, he's going to be in front of Stapleford, and he's going to be in front of Brennan, who, more importantly, has already started to pull that gap out again on Stapleford. It's now 2.3 seconds. So,
Robbie Stiltford, though, last lap at 1:17.3. Jordan Brennan last lap, a 1:17.7. And Alex Toth-Jones actually just set the fastest second set to Robbie Stiltford, getting very wide there. These drivers are all pushing extremely hard now. I tell you what, since Max Edmondson's put that time in, I think all the drivers are thinking, well, we need to find a bit extra time in here.
Well, I think they're going to have to, aren't they? Because of the rate, like I said, with race 2, with that reverse grid, yeah, they absolutely need to. I wouldn't like to be that cameraman, though, going on the exit of Church Bend. So Alex Toth-Jones, yeah, look at that in P3. He's running on his own at the moment, so he's got a bit of a gap now between himself. He's got about, what's that, 2 seconds? Actually, 4 seconds now it's gone up to. Apologies, he's got 6.9 seconds, 6.8 seconds. So he's running his own race at the moment. It's actually dropped down to 6.5. So, like I said, it's not going to be enough, I don't think, for Edmondson to catch up. But it just goes to show that he is just... Max Edmondson's got some incredible pace. And, to come up to P4, and... I said he's not holding up now. He's got a pretty comfortable position. He's about 11 seconds ahead of O'Farrell, and he's got 6.5 seconds in the bag from Toth-Jones. But whoa, that was a big moment from Toth-Jones there. If he keeps doing that, that's not going to help his situation at all. That was a massive moment going through. It looked to be on the entry to Goodwood, possibly. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. Actually, it could be an entry going through into Church. But either way, massive sideways moment. And actually, Dave, it's an interesting one. If something like that happens, what do you normally do in this situation? I mean, to be fair, with these cars, obviously we both driven rear-wheel drive quite a lot. Is it normally the same with these cars? You've just got to sort of ride that slide and just let it out. And you've got to let the car almost do its thing and just let the slide happen and pick it up at a period of time where the car starts to naturally...
Is that Robbie Stiltford? That's Robbie Stiltford with the spin out of the last chicane. Alex Toth-Jones up into second place. So this is what I was going to touch upon earlier, Dan. We'll just change the subject here a little bit first while that's just happened. When I was saying about that chicane and them yellow sort of sausage curbs on the inside, it can be that reference point. You've got to think hitting them sausage curbs really bounces the car. So I believe what's probably happened there is Robbie's really committed to the inside line there, thrown it over the sausage curb, and just hasn't managed to catch the back end on the bounce going onto that main straight. Alex Toth-Jones there has found himself up into second place by just keeping on track.
Well, exactly, but his car has definitely seen better days also as well. Max Emerson, he's just seen that all happen in front of him. Well, he hasn't seen it happen, but he saw the timing tower probably absolutely fly down. He saw Robbie Stiltford lose a position. He knows he's got probably a lot of damage, and the gap has already come down another 0.2 of a second. So 3 minutes and 14 seconds left to go. Robbie Stiltford has definitely not made it easy for himself to hold this last position. It's come down another couple of tenths, and it's flying down, going down the Brooklyn Straight. Because again, at the moment, Stapleton's car is probably a good maybe 10, 12 Ks down on the straight alone. He's going to be losing time through corners, losing time down straights into braking zones. So, yeah, and I think at the moment, he's going to have to do the defensive drive of his life. Although at a track like this, I can't really see how he's going to be able to defend all too much if he hasn't got the straight line speed.
Yeah, that is the issue, you can see that bonnet. It's not necessarily the bonnet that's going to be causing the big issue here. It's if the bonnet looks like that, you can imagine what that front splitter is also looking like. That front splitter pointing downwards, creating that bigger drag, really making it a bigger object to push through that air, and really going to struggle with top end speed. But Max Edmondson actually dropped another 0.2 of a second in that sector 1-2 Robbie Stiltford. So you know what, this might come down the line, but Robbie might be able to hang on to this yet.
I mean, he might do. Like I said, 1.6 is now the gap at the moment, as it just drops down now to 1.5. This is where Stapleford is going to lose out the most here. You're going to see that time really come down. It's already come down to 10th. So Max Edmondson, oh, there you go, Dave. That's your camera angle. Again, on board, you can just see how the commitment going through. He takes a little bit too much. So that's dropped him a little bit of time. That's a good, probably 10th there that he's dropped. It hasn't really done much damage, though. Again, because Stapleford is so slow in a straight line at this moment in time, Max Emerson didn't actually drop too much. He probably dropped maybe about half a tenth. I'll tell you what though, Stapleford, even though he had probably that moment, as you say, Dave, on the exit of that curb, he's not shying away from it, is he? He wants to teach it a lesson, and he wants to make sure that he doesn't lose any of the edge going through. So good to see actually that he's already put that into behind him. He's not afraid to still continue with his normal line. It's a learning curve. It's a costly learning curve, but a learning curve nevertheless.
It is indeed. And you know what? I think Robbie might have enough here. That gap's not really coming down like we'd expect to see. Max Edmondson, as we've seen throughout the race, actually, is pinpoint through that chicane, right on the limit of track limits there. But notice how stable the car is when he's doing it. It's not bouncing around. It's just sort of, very smooth through there, as opposed to someone who's just trying to throw it through. So fair play to him through the chicane, but he just doesn't seem to have the outright pace elsewhere on the track. It's still around that 1.5 seconds, and that's just not enough when there's only 40 seconds left of this race.
Well, there's 40 seconds. There's going to be, as the timer counts down, there's going to be one more lap after this. So you've probably seen as well. So Jordan Brennan will be just coming across the line in a few moments' time for the second to last lap. So at the moment, that is going to have to be that Edmondson's going to have to pull 0.7 of a second per lap, and that's just to catch back up to the back of Stapleford. Although, if he does catch him back up, which he's really caught him up at the moment, just look at the timing tower. So yeah, another 0.1 of a second. That's exactly what he needs, but he's going to have to do a lot more here to really catch up. Timer has now just come down to 0, so one more lap after this for race 1. And we're going to see who comes out on top. Yeah, the battle to really watch out for is this one here. I'll tell you what, Stapleford though, he's really quick in the complex. You go through Campbell, Cobb and Seagrave, he's still got the pace and he can pull out a little bit of time. But as soon as he gets to any straight, he just loses it all because he hasn't got any straight line speed to work with. And that's nothing that he can do at this point. He just needs to make sure he keeps hitting his marks. But yeah, the rate he's going, Dave, it is going to be enough.
Yeah, I think this is a very, very impressive drive by Robbie Stapleford. We know he's had that, altercation with the chicane, whether he's hit the wall or lost the back end. That's happened, that's done. He's lost the second place, but you can see how hard Max Edmondson is pushing here. For all he ran off track limits there, that will actually cost him time rather than gained it. But you can see Robbie Stapleford is doing enough to hang on to this, and I bet that car is driving like a dog. So fair play. Actually, what's happened to Alex Toth-Jones? Alex Toth-Jones. Oh no, he's okay. My apologies there. He just had a little mess up there on the timing tower. He's still in second place. Robbie Stapleford's still in third. For some reason there, Alex Toth-Jones dropped down to fourth. So that was a bit of a panic moment.
I know you can hear it in your voice. Just the high pitch that's starting to kick in. But yeah, absolutely. Like you said, it's a great drive here for Stapleford. He's really doing all. I mean, again, he's doing all that he can. The gap is just ticked under a second though, and now all the way down here. This is where we're really going to see Edmondson now catch up. Is he going to catch up to a second though? I don't really know. Jordan Brennan though, already about to go through Church Bend for the final time of race 1. And then he goes, actually he's already just coming up to it now. He doesn't really need to do much at this point. He's got 7.3 seconds in the bag. He just needs to take it nice and easy. He goes through, negotiates it nice and cleanly. No mess, no incident, no fuss. Club chicane for the final time in the bottom right hand corner of your screen as he just ticked over to the big screen here. Now he's going to go through club corner. Look at that, nice and easy, no mess, no dramas at all. And there we go, Jordan Brennan takes race 1 victory for the One Make Cup BMW 235i series here. But all importantly, who is going to be Alex Toth-Jones comes across the line in P2. And yes, Stapleford and Edmondson. For all that happened, I mean, considering that was a very, very damaged car, not too bad and very, very impressive from Robbie Stapleford to keep a very, very quick Max Edmondson just under a second behind.
Yeah, and, very, very impressive drive there by Robbie Stapleford. Alex Toth-Jones, I think, is quite lucky there in respect. I think he'll admit that himself. Made quite a big error going through Goodwood, running it wide on the grass, which left the door wide open there for Robbie Stapleford. Max Edmondson, great drive to get through the pack. You saw Tom O'Farrell, giving him really quite a hard time, really, to try and get past. You've seen the pace Max Edmondson did have, and what could have been if he just got through the grid a little bit sooner.
Well, I think it bodes well for race 2, doesn't it? Because, like I said, Max Edmondson, he's going to be in front of Stapleford, Toth-Jones and Brennan all for race 2, which we saw some good action from race 1. Definitely going to be some action in race 2. But there you go. There are your provisional results here. So Jordan Brennan taking the race win with Max Edmondson in P2. Alex Toth-Jones in P3 with Robbie Stapleford in P4. Actually, these results aren't actually quite correct. But hopefully they're going to correct themselves in a few moments' time. But I believe we do actually have as well there. As well, Deb, we have some people in the commentary booth. So think we will have a chat with our top 3 for race 1 of this BMW One Make Cup Series.
We will indeed. So we jumped out the interview booth and we've got our P3 finisher, Robbie Stapleford. A huge moment there, midway through the race, really. And, me and Dan both sort of commentating, you saying, one hell of a drive to manage to bring that damaged car, back home ahead of Max Edmondson, who clearly had some very good straight line speed over you.
Yeah, just got a really good start and then got into second after Alex made a mistake, and then I just ran wide at the last corner. I thought I would have been fine, and clearly the signs do more damage to the car than the cars do to the signs, so I didn't really realise that the signs were going to kill me, really. And yeah, luckily I just got back on track in time and Max just didn't catch me. So
yeah, it was a great effort, and I've got to ask about the damage, because we obviously saw the front of the car was really quite, heavily damaged. Was that affecting the steering, or was it literally just a case of it was affecting that straight line performance?
Just a straight line performance, really. I think the engine was just slowly going, and it was just getting slower and slower down the straight.
Right, so that's just interesting to hear you going into race 2 regarding the damage of the car, So, great race 1, really. Alex, as you say, ran wide, but you got up to second place, you dropped down to third, but it's still good points for the championship. Reverse grid race here. Jordan Brennan starts behind you, so I'll let you get your head down and focus ready for race 2, mate.
Yeah, cheers, Dave.
On to our P2 finisher, Alex. It was a great race until Goodwood, which you were commenting on prior to the race. Running wide there is not what you want to be doing.
No, it's such a long corner that you think you can get greedy picking up the throttle midway through. It's exactly what I did, and just dropped a wheel, and then once you drop a wheel, it keeps turning right and you just can't rejoin. I think, to be fair, apart from obviously Robbie having his little mishap, I'd finished third on pace regardless. It just lacked a little bit of race pace and consistency. One lap was good, but yeah, over the race I was just lacking a little bit. But yeah, it's good fun. They're a bit leery at high speed, these things.
It's what we like to hear, though, that is, Alex. We were talking to you prior to the race as well, and you do like Thruxton. It's one of the tracks that you go well in real life. Do you reckon that sort of knowledge is going to help you going into this race regarding trying to get through the pack and maybe knowing a little bit better where the overtaking spots are on this track?
I think this is one of the closest looking circuits on a sim to real life. It drives quite similar as well. The curbs react very similar, so in that sense, yeah, I quite like this track in real life. I've had my only pole position on this track, but yeah, I think it's going to be good with the reverse grid. Obviously there's going to be a bit of pressure from behind, but yeah, anything can happen.
Well, I'll let you get your head down, Alex, and good luck going into race 2. We've got a race 1 winner. You put it on pole, and really calculated race there, John, but you definitely weren't relaxing there. There was a few moments that we were both holding our breath, running a little bit wide on the grass. You were definitely pushing the whole way through that. Are you there, Jordan Brennan? So unfortunately, it looks like we don't have Jordan Brennan. Hopefully it'll be good luck going into the race. I believe we do. Is he there?
There we go.
There we go. Through the crackle. I don't know whether you heard what I said, but I was basically touching upon the fact, it was a relatively calculated race, but you were definitely still pushing there with a few leery moments.
Yeah, I could see Robbie catching me, and I knew I had to carry on pushing then, but I had the tyre pressure slightly wrong for that, and yeah, it didn't make that. It didn't make church very easy. But yeah, it was a pretty decent race, to be fair. I crossed the line with 0.1 laps of fuel left, so it was very close. I had to do a lot of courses on that last lap.
Well, I'll let you get your head down because I see there's only 40 seconds left to go, but well done in race 1 and good luck in race 2, John.
Cheers, thanks.
Oh, race 2, reverse grid. I said we saw some action at race 1, Dave. We're definitely going to see some action in race 2.
We are indeed. I'm really looking forward to seeing what can happen here from a reverse grid, seeing the potential of what Max Edmondson's maybe got with the, that advantage of starting ahead of them faster drivers that were in race 1, the slightly slower drivers in front. This is a chance where, you know, he can maybe crawl a few of them points back that he needs for that championship battle.
Exactly, yeah, but he needs to make sure he capitalises on it. He needs to make sure he gets a good start, and at least see if he can get through a couple of the drivers in front relatively quickly. We're going to find out how that pans out now. The lights are on. When are they going to go out? Who is going to get the jump? Let's find out. Away we go for race 2, and it seems to be a pretty even start all throughout the field. Bottom right corner of your screen is a Jordan Brennan onboard camera, who is going to be going through a bit of contact there already. Oh, stop, no, that could have been potentially, just have a look, couldn't quite see who that was. Could have been Reed potentially. So a bit of contact there. Someone very, very sideways, and a massive accident going through there. There's cars off absolutely everywhere. There's a bit of Tokyo drift as well. It's all really kicking off now. May not be a safety car. There's only a couple of people involved by the looks. And who was it? It seems to have potentially been Lawrence Davey was one of the ones, as well as Simon Reed. And then side by side, look at Edmondson. He's already going through. He's already in P2. And they're going to go side by side. What is going to happen here? Jordan Brennan's going to try and have a look up the inside. They're going to go 3 wide going through into Noble and out into Goodwood. This is very, very good stuff indeed. So Mick Sutton trying to hold off in P4 as much as he can. But he's going to lose out to one position because Toth Jones is going to come through. And Brennan is potentially not going to be too far behind. As Toth Jones goes up, I thought he was going to make a move going through into P2. Max Emerson's already on the first because that is O'Farrell. He's gone wide going out of Church. It's really kicked off already. So Edmondson, in the space of about 3/4 of a lap, is already up into first place. And I think that goes to show, look at Toth Jones. He wants the position. He wants to get past Mick Sutton as soon as he can. He's going to try and go around the outside. What a move going through Club Chicane. That was good. And unfortunately, Mick Sutton, he's had a small off. A bit of half spin into the barrier, so that dropped him down all the way, unfortunately, to P8. Doing so very well. But oh my goodness, Robbie Stapleford and Max Edmondson, these guys are really, they're not holding up at all, are they? They want these, they're fighting as much as they can. Yeah, Max Edmondson, like I said, we saw he had good pace at the start there, Dave, of race 1. We saw he had good pace at the end of race 1. And it's really shone through already at the start of this race.
It is indeed, but you've got to remember, you know, Robbie Stiltford's holding his own there with Max Edmondson, and Robbie did have damage, so this is going to be one hell of a battle, I'm sure. You know, there's no love lost between these drivers. They had it coming together at Croft. You know, Max has paid the penalty for that, but now it's all fair game. Max is in front, Robbie's behind. You know what? This is going to get a bit naughty, I think, Dan, but you know what? I'm looking forward. Alex Toth Jones is already up in the 3rd. John Brennan's managed to get through into 4th place there. Unfortunate there for Mick Sutton. Just seemed to lose the back end on one of them sausage curbs, and there wasn't a great deal he could do about it. And I believe is that Tom O'Farrell that's all the way dropped off the back by going off at Church. As Robbie Stiltford's going to throw it up the inside going at the last chicane. Is Max Edmondson going to give him the room? He's going to go side by side. He's going to force Robbie a little bit wide. That's going to get close to the wall. Robbie Stiltford's through. Is he going to have the run here? Max Edmondson, will he look at the inside line here? Going into turn 1. I tell you what, Dan, I was right on the edge of my seat there.
I know, it's going to be as now. I think we're all going to be on the edge of our seat for the next 17 minutes because this two-way battle for the race lead has now become a 4-way battle for the race lead. Look at that, Edmondson's going to go up the inside, potentially going through into Campbell Corner, then going through Cobb, and then straight back to the right-hander of Seagrave. Look at that, Stapleford still manages to hold on, so he's back up into pole position. He's in now into first place. He's got to try and pull away though because Toth Jones is going to want to look to get past Max Emerson sooner rather than later. He's got a bit of damage though on the front of his car, bit sideways there on the exit of Noble, and that could be caused, again, to look to be maybe a little bit too much curb, and that just upset the bounce of the car a little bit. So he's going to be losing some straight line speed. And then Jordan Brennan, look at that, 7/10 behind. So the 4-way battle is still very much there, but Jordan Brennan has already pulled out 0.4 of a second on Max Edmondson, so a man who really wants to gap as much as possible. But as soon as Toth Jones and Edmondson start to battle, that's going to drop them both from Stapleford and put them into the clutches of Jordan Brennan. And actually, whoa, last minute dive up the inside by Alex Toth Jones. That's going to be way too late though. He can't quite get it stopped. He just about gets it stopped, but unfortunately has to take a bit of a slip road, so that's going to losing a bit of time. I don't necessarily think though he gained an unfair advantage, I suppose, to a certain extent. He was already behind already behind Max Edmondson, so I don't think he would have been caught for gaining an unfair advantage.
Yeah,
but if anything, he's actually lost out time because Brennan's right up behind him now.
Yeah, I would agree. You know, Alex there, I actually thought it looked like Max Edmondson let Alex Toth Jones through, but it was just how late Alex Toth Jones tried to brake, made it look like he just let him through. Yeah, sure enough, Alex overshot it, you know, cut the chicane, but make sure he braked to make sure he didn't get the advantage. I'm noticing quite a lot of drivers taking that inside line there over that curb, and I'm trying to decide whether that's actually working for them or where it's actually giving them such a bounce that it's not really, you know, making any difference whether they cut it or not. It seems very aggressive on the car. I notice Robbie Stiltford isn't doing it and yet still pulling away, so a very interesting battle here. We noticed Max Edmondson there was under quite a lot of pressure there from Alex Toth-Jones, and it was helping Robbie get away, but this is when Max needs to get his head down, as we see Jordan Brennan go for a late move up the inside of Alex Toth-Jones. This is where Alex will be smart. He goes, Jordan's got a little bit more pace than me, let's tuck in behind him, let's go forward, and there's a good chance we might be able to get Max Edmondson. As I say that though, Jordan Brennan goes defensive, Alex Toth-Jones is going to try and get the inside cut back. That's incredibly tight. There's contact, Jordan Brennan's been spun out there by Max Edmondson. Can Jordan get this car back going and get back up to that 4th place that he needs to be in? Oh, that was not what we want to see there. Alex was just pushing on him, leaning on that back end, and at that point, you know, Jordan Brennan was just getting turned and turned. It's not what we like to see, but it is racing. That's gave Max Edmondson that little bit of a gap there. You know, unfortunately, that's the breathing room that Max Edmondson's going to need to, you know, hold on to that 2nd place. Robbie Stiltford, though, opened up a nearly 2-second gap there to Max Edmondson.
Well, to be fair, yeah, Staplewood is really pushing his car, and to be fair, don't blame him. Yeah, 2 seconds already the gap. 7 minutes or nearly have gone in this 2nd race. Interesting though, yeah, that's a tricky one again. Without a proper replay, without a different camera angle, I think would have also helped that. But again, the camera was, it just looked. It's always one of those things that you look at one camera angle and it looks slightly differently, but then you could completely switch to a different camera angle and the incident looks completely different. So I think, to be fair, Dave, I really don't know what happened there. It could have been a racing incident. It could have been one person drifted over. It could have been one person didn't drifted too far out. There could have been a lot of things going on there. But obviously that will be reviewed in the replay. But at the moment, yeah, can Jordan Brennan get back up? Max Emerson's gone slightly wide going through Allard, so he's really pushing this car again as much as he possibly can. Or Jordan Brennan, no, he has now gone back to the pits. And unfortunately, I think that is his 2nd race done and dusted. So unfortunately, he's going to be dropping down into P8 because O'Farrell is still out on track. So that is going to put Brennan down into P7. And there we go, just ticked over on the timing tower. So, Toth-Jones at the moment in P3. He has got a bit of damage on the front of his car. He can have more damage now because of that incident with Brennan. Can he catch up to Max Emerson? The gap is 1.8 seconds at the moment. These guys look to be pretty even Stevens in the first race, although Emerson was really putting in some very, very good pace. But towards the end, almost just dropped off a little bit, I think. So I wonder if we're going to see. I don't think so, actually. Just look at the timing tower, then it's just extending a little bit. So just about to tick over to 2 seconds, and that, I can imagine, Dave, is not being helped by the fact that Toth-Jones has got some damage to the front of his car.
Yeah, so we'd seen it with, you know, Robbie Stiltford in the lap prior. He did say he struggled with basically just front end, not front end performance, sorry, the turning was fine, but he struggled with top end speed and straight line performance. He did say, I don't know whether it was maybe a cooling issue or something along them lines, whether he did think the engine was starting to lose power towards the end of the race as well. So it's sort of a progression thing where the damage seems to sort of be getting a little bit worse throughout as the race goes on. So I'll be very surprised if we see that gap between Alex and Max close up there. We've seen Alex does have really good pace in race 1. He says he didn't have that great race pace, but honestly, looking at his lap times, I don't think there's anything wrong with his race pace. It's just maybe that damage is just holding him back a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, isn't it? You've got to drive to the car. You've got to drive to the car with what's underneath you at the moment in time. So yeah, Toth-Jones, while he might not be losing anything on the front end, yes, he is going to be losing something on the straight, definitely. But again, it's just how you manage it. He hasn't dropped too much time there. He's dropping about maybe 1.5 tenths, 2 tenths a lap to Max Edmondson. Again, that really can all change. One small little mistake there from Edmondson, and that's going to allow Alex Toth-Jones to then come right back up to the rear bumper of Edmondson.
That's why.
Just depends.
That's why.
Oh, that's
Alex
a hefty
Toth-Jones,
shunt.
Alex Toth-Jones in the wall. I guarantee that will be him probably out of the race. I don't imagine that car will do that many laps after that damage. You can see already The steering's turned to the right. There's Simon Reed up into 3rd place. I bet he didn't think this was going to happen at the start of the race.
No, I'm sure he didn't. Like I said, unfortunately, not the best race for him in race 1. But yeah, he just needs to now do his thing and not do, just hit his markers, hit his laps for the remaining 10 minutes. Just about to tick over to halfway through this race. What can Alex Toth-Jones do? Can he actually salvage anything? You've got Lawrence David behind him, 1.9 seconds. That gap's going to come down very quickly. You've also got Mick Sutton behind, 3.2 seconds. And we're going to see how that time comes down, if at all. So, yeah, we saw just on the onboard shot then, Lawrence Davey, sorry, not Lawrence Davey, Toth-Jones does have some damage to his steering. That's going to be sketchy through Goodwood. That's going to be very sketchy through Church Bend. So hopefully he negotiates that. He's going to have to go negotiate it with a little bit less pace than he would normally. So
we're noticing there though, Dan, if you look at Lawrence Davies' car, that's definitely not the way the front of the Beamer should be shaped either. But I do think looking at it, Alex's car is definitely quite significantly more damaged. It looks like at least Lawrence Davies' car is tracking straight, so I guess that's one thing to take of it. Already I see Lawrence Davey 0.2 of a second he's taken out of Alex Toth-Jones as he does the same thing. He goes wide into one of them quick fit boards. We've already heard them quick fit boards do more damage than you think. And look at Mick Sutton, he's going to go around the outside. My God, Mick Sutton will be thinking, what's happening here? Cars are just dropping off.
I mean, to be fair, exactly, yeah. He's just sitting there running his own race, and he's getting positions. No end. So Simon Reed, there we go. The man in P3 at the moment, with 2.6 seconds of the gap between himself and Toth-Jones, which is ever extending. Yes, he's got a 12.3 second gap all the way up to Max Edmondson. To be fair, I don't think he's going to be complaining all too much, though. Because like I said, the best position that we've seen from Simon Reed, and that P3 just needs to make sure he keeps it all in check. No mistakes here. He's got enough of a gap. He's already pulled 0.4 out of Toth-Jones. So he just now needs to make sure that he continues to hit his mark. He's very, very quick going through Church. You can see again, he's leaving a little bit of time in there. He's leaving a little bit of space in there. He's driving sort of like 9/8 tenths, which, I mean, Dave, in this position, would you do any different? Because I don't think I would.
No, that's realistically, Max Edmondson's up the road. He's already crossed the line at this point. He knows how far Max is ahead. He'll be thinking 3rd place. Best finish he's ever had as yet, I believe. We might, touch and woody. I don't want to give him a commentator's curse. We might be speaking to him after the race regarding that. His first podium finish. Alex Toth-Jones is dropping back slightly, and I'm looking at the timing sheets, and he's lapping about half a second faster than Alex Toth-Jones here. So just needs to keep that pace he's on, nice and smooth. Don't push the car too hard. Drive within himself, and hopefully the results will just start to pull themselves in.
Well, let's hope so. Like I said, 7 minutes remaining of race 2. And then we're going to see who we're going to be speaking to from the top 3. And Toth-Jones, he is just dropping pace. He can't do much at the moment. I wonder what Mick Sutton is going to do, because Mick Sutton, he's got 8.3 seconds between himself and Alex Toth-Jones. I wonder, 7 minutes, that's a lot. 7 minutes remaining. That's not really a lot of time to pull 8 seconds, but it depends how quick Toth-Jones is with the damage that he's got. He still might be enough off pace to potentially, Mick Sutton, if he again hits his marks and really gets the hammer down, he might catch up in a potentially a position to fight. We really don't know. It depends on the extent of the damage that we're going to see through Toth-Jones. But he is still, like you said, you can see there, he is dropped to about another second and a second or so from the back of Reed. Max Edmondson, though, in P2. Again, a bit of a lonely race for him this time out. Because he had good fun. He had good fun last time working through the field and making some very, very good moves. But yeah, at the moment, he is just running his own race. He's got a 15-second gap, and he's losing a little bit of time. Not too much, though. It's sort of plateaued out a little bit. I wonder, again, is Robbie Staplewood just sort of maintaining pace here? He's managing the pace, and he's managing the gap between himself and Edmondson. Be interesting to see. And we know the pace that Robbie has, and I have a feeling this is going to be... He's not really pushing, again, as hard as he would have been in the first race, I don't think.
No, I agree with you there, Dan. I'm just looking, though, the amount of cars that we've got sat in the pits that sustained, either terminal damage or, drivers that have decided it's the end of the day for them, too much damage or, just not feeling the track. look at the drivers that's still on track. It's, half the grid is gone from the race. It just shows how brutal sort of this track's actually been. It's that quick. Any sort of mistake can be amplified with the amount of speed that this track carries. So, no runoff, high speed, a fair Larry car, as we heard from what Alex Todd Jones said. Seems to be a recipe for, if you just keep it on the black stuff, drive within yourself. It's a recipe for quite a good result, as we're seeing here from Simon Reed and Mick Sutton.
Yeah, absolutely. It's consistency, isn't it? Even in a sprint race, you've got to have some level of, and to be fair, obviously, the mistakes we saw from like Jordan Brennan, and they're very, very few and far between. Let's make no mistake about that. But again, like you've really got to consider, again, in these situations, even in sprint racing, you've got to be conservative. You've got to drive to, the car. You've got to drive to the conditions, and yeah, you've also almost I think got to pick and choose. I've been in the situation many times, more times than I care to mention, about driving the car too hard in certain scenarios where I thought there is absolutely no point, and reflecting on it, I really shouldn't have done. So yeah, as I said, Simon, Simon Reed, he really just needs to just hit as much. That's all he needs to do. Drive well within the boundaries of what he is actually capable of in pace. Because at the same time, there's no point trying to do your absolute fastest lap when that Edmondson is on that pace anyway, and you're also pulling away from Toth Jones, in this example, behind. So, yeah, a level head is very, very key here, even in sprint racing. Obviously, more so in endurance racing. But yeah, I think that. So I suppose equates as well. Then you'll probably agree with me on this. Is when to battle someone, when not to. We've heard it a couple of times. We've spoken about it in previous rounds and previous series, that there is a time and a place to battle, and there's also a time and place to let another faster car by. And as you say, try and just sort of tag along with them, really, and just try and let them pull you along up to whoever's faster, or to not lose any positions to someone that's behind you.
Yeah, exactly that. And you know what? This is probably one of the things that makes it slightly more difficult. In these slightly shorter discipline championships, it only runs for 4 weeks. When you're talking a championship that lasts 10, 12 weeks, I know every point matters, but near the start of the championship, you're more inclined to sort of work with someone or pick your battles a little bit clever, rather than thinking, there's not many races left in this season. We need to sort of go for it as much as we can. So maybe that's why we're seeing, drivers pushing the limits of what they can drive at, because they think the season is so short. You've got to give it your all, because otherwise, if you don't, there's not going to be that time to regain them points back later on.
Yeah, exactly. That's the element of it. Absolutely. You've always got to. You do have to consider that as well. It's the risk versus reward, isn't it? I think that's the biggest thing. You've always got to weigh it up, and that ever changes. That changes race by race. That changes round by round. That also even changes, lap by lap in certain circumstances. But unfortunately, we've just seen as well, Lawrence Davey has DNF'd. I wonder why that's happened. I wonder, because we did see his car potentially with a bit more damage. I've just been told as well that he did unfortunately have a crash off camera, so that was a race-ending incident for him. So Dave, another one bites the dust. But as we say, that don't know what Tom O'Farrell's carrying the boot of his car, but he can't shut it properly.
Yeah, I think looking at the way it's driving, Tom O'Farrell's car is also not far off putting him behind the door and closing the door on it. I mean, look at the amount of steering lock that he's having to put in even to get around church. And bear in mind, look at the steering rack. The car wants to turn right, never mind going left. So, I mean, yeah, Tom O'Farrell's doing well to bring this home in 6th place at the moment. Mick Sutton in 5th. Just quite happily plodding along here for a great result. 8 seconds off the bat of Alex Toth Jones, and Mick's going to be thinking, a great result here for keeping it on track, driving within himself, and you can see the results speak for themselves.
I think what this does show as well, David, is that Thruxton takes absolutely no prisoners, and it will just let you go at any moment.
It's starting to make me think I'm maybe not going to be choosing wisely if I choose Thruxton as my real life. I could be doing a real life event at Thruxton, and it's made me think slightly differently, if I'm honest.
I'll tell you what, though, it's like any track there as well, isn't it? There's always risks. I think, Thruxton being one of the fastest tracks, being the fastest track in the UK, it does have its you've got to take that a little bit more caution, especially again, I can't remember who it was for the life of me. I know with a British touring car race, I can't remember who it was. It was a good few years ago now. A massive moment on the exit, I believe it was Church or maybe Goodwood, and straight through the barrier. I mean, it was, obviously through the grass. I can't remember who it was though, for the life of me.
Yeah, so anyone watching, if you know what it is, put in the comment section. I can picture it. I believe it was a Toyota Avensis.
Yes.
And I can't remember who it was who was driving it. So, Frank Rathel, maybe someone like that. But yeah, if anyone knows, put it in the comment section. Put us out of our misery. Yeah. Oh, it's eating us away, that one, if I'm honest, Dan. A green Toyota Avensis, I believe it was. But yeah, so... Yeah, Thruxton is proven to be a very, very difficult track, and also, last year in the Coopers, the round that I'm looking at doing, had one of the biggest crashes I've also seen that ended up in the driver having to kick his own windscreen out with the car into the roof in a fireball. If you haven't seen that, have a look at the Thruxton Mini Cooper crash as well. Burst of fuel line as it rolled over and ended up in a ball of flames. Yeah, it really started.
Yourself out of it, Dave. Stop talking yourself out of it, all right?
I think I might have to set off for Silverstone.
But as we're going into the final stage, to be fair, I think, like I say, even if you do, you'll absolutely love it. I'm sure you will absolutely love it. If you've got the opportunity, then absolutely go and do it 100%. Robbie Stapleford, look at that. He's got one more lap to go after this. And then that is him. He's got 4.5 seconds on Max Edmondson. A massive, massive gap. And all he needs to do is just hit his markers for one more lap.
We're seeing go to P3. Simon Reed having swapping places with Alex Toth-Jones. So I don't know what's happened there, but actually Alex Toth-Jones is starting to lose off the back of Simon Reed. So that'd be really interesting if Simon Reed can bring this home in 3rd place. What the world happened there? I believe Alex Toth-Jones was over 6-7 seconds back. So something really quite drastic happened there with Simon Reed and nearly threw it away on his last lap.
Interesting stuff. So I think that's given Simon Reed a bit of a reality check. He's got one more lap to go though. So is he going to make 1 minute 20.6 was that last lap, and Alex Toth-Jones there 1 minute 19.4. So he only lost 1.2 seconds, but still that's definitely not what you want on this remaining lap here. So he just needs to make sure he still hits his marks. 2.3 seconds is now the gap. Again, I can't really see Alex Toth-Jones. He hasn't normally had the pace. He hasn't had the pace since his accident going through. But again, I don't say too much. Anything can happen. We'll have to wait until everyone crosses the line before I say anything. But Robbie Stapleford already going down Brooklyn straight, going through the club one last time.
I must point out, Dan, he's just set his fastest first sector as well.
Wow. Fair play. I mean, you can't argue with that, can you? But look at that, Robbie Stapleford going out at club chicane for the last time. And there we go. He takes race 2 victory. I'm sure you can see there in his driving. He's very, very happy indeed. And I do not blame him. Max Edmondson comes home in P2 with Simon Reed. He's gone through Church corner for the final time. Yeah, going down the Brooklands straight. 2.4 seconds behind Alex Toth-Jones, negotiating the final chicane for one last time. Can he do it? He needs to make sure it goes nice. And you can see it in the car. He's nice and stable. He's nice and controlled. Look at that. Very, very slow indeed. And do I blame him? No, I do not. Look at that summary. The best position we've seen him in. Best finishing position in P3. I bet he didn't expect that in the slightest. And Alex Toth-Jones coming home in P4. Mick Sutton comes home. Again, a great result from him. I'm sure he didn't expect that either in P5. And then Tom O'Farrell comes home across the line in P6. And that is your entire finishing order. Everyone else, though, unfortunately, had to retire. DNF back in the pits. So a bit unfortunate for a lot of drivers there. It goes to show, staying on the track gets you positions.
Yeah, what a dramatic race that was. And if that was in real life, what an expensive race that was for the BMW paddock. Yeah, phenomenal racing. Great action in both race 1 and 2. And what a fantastic... that outlap in race 2, we had cars 3 abreast doing 120 mile an hour through Church, cars keeping it on the track. It was actually when the drivers got separated and they were pushing themselves, was when they were becoming a culprit. To go side by side round this track takes real good driving standards, and it was great to see, and it's provided some fantastic racing tonight, Dan.
Oh, it has indeed. It absolutely has. Like I said, we the smaller grids on this race, it definitely has not proven that we're going to get any less racing, because there has been some really, really good racing indeed. Hopefully not too long though, and then we're going to be able to chat with our top 3. And to be fair, I'm sure that Simon Reed is going to be excited to be able to chat with you, Dave. Like I said, the first time, I believe, in his... look at the accident at the start, though. Interesting to see. It just looked like Toth Jones. Just got a little bit... That wasn't Toth Jones, actually. I can't remember who that was in the sister car. Yeah, so no, so interesting stuff there, but hopefully we can have a chat about that after this time around. So, as we go through, we've got the top 3 in the commentary booth, so I will hand it over to Dave Marshall to have a chat with our top 3 from race 2.
Yes, well, let's see what he makes of it. If Simon Reed is there, I believe, is this your first time you finished on the podium in a VRRC championship?
Yeah, it is. That's 2 seasons in the mini challenge, and now this is my first podium, and wow, it feels great.
Well, it's very well deserved, and I've got to ask, you know, Alex Toth Jones had a little nibble there, a lap from the end, and we didn't actually see how you lost your time. Was it an excursion off track there, or something along them lines that let him catch back up there?
Well, no, I was just being overly cautious in the last chicane. You know, I'm just thinking, you know, don't mess this up. Keep it on the track. Don't put it in the barrier. And I just went too slow through the chicane, but it was enough to get across the line in front of him.
Well, honestly, Simon, I'm absolutely over the moon for you, and it really just does show, you know, there was a lot of drivers who had DNFs there. I think you'll agree yourself, it's a track that really does punish any sort of lapse in concentration. You know, the speed that you have to carry, you know, you turn in half a car late and you can pay the price, but you kept it on track, you kept the consistency there, and you brought it home in P3.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a tricky track, and yeah, it can bite you hard. But yeah, my focus was on just keep it tidy, keep it on the track. And some other people had a bit of bad luck, and I managed to make the most of it.
Well, you know, first time on the podium, but definitely, hopefully not the last in it. You know, if that improvement in the progression shown tonight, you know, isn't something to be said for future races you're in, Simon, you know, fair play for a P3, and hopefully speak to you again in the future.
Yeah, excellent. I hope to keep it coming. Thank you very much.
Spot on, Simon. We'll go to our P2 finisher. Maybe not the position you want to be in, getting through the pack, you know, as quickly as you did. Found yourself in P2 behind Robbie Sturtleford, but it was one hell of a battle, wasn't it, man?
Obviously had a clean start, and I was hoping Robbie would have got held up by some of the drivers, but he got straight past them, and then obviously I tried to defend because I knew he was faster, but he got past me and just gapped me, so yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I've already commented on the amount of people, you know, fallen by the way, and there was a moment in that race where I actually thought you let Alex Toth Jones pass going into chicane, and it was just how late he tried to brake to go around you, ended up cutting it, but, you know, didn't gain that advantage. You must have thought, blinking at Alex really wants this P2.
On the inside, I was like, he's going to try outbrake me, which he did, but I think he outbraked himself by quite a mile. I thought he was going to go into honest.
Yeah, it did make it very entertaining to watch, and I've got to admit, I think you were probably holding your breath there and wanting really just to sort of get your head down and carry chasing Robbie, but he definitely wasn't making it easy for you. But it's looking good in the championship. You know, it's a good championship points haul for you, and you know, great race result in race 2, and looking forward to seeing what you can do when we go on to round 3. And move on to our P1 finisher. You know, a good result in race 1, an excellent result in race 2. You've got to be happy with the points haul tonight, Robbie.
Yeah, definitely happy. Some good points from tonight. Just got a really clean start. Really got through the field with Max, and then we started to battle, and then I just got by him at the last couple of corners, and then just started to gap him, and then it just went from there. Really, just maintained the gap, and yeah, brought it home.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to bring it up. You know, you had a coming together at Croft on the previous round. The penalties were, you know, applied for that, but you know, it wasn't any love lost there in this race. You know, that was some really good hard battling, and you know, if I'm honest, it looks like the sort of driving that you actually sort of want to have. You know, it was one of them where I bet you sort of had a half smile on, thinking, you know, this is sort of what it's about.
Yeah, definitely, it was definitely a good battle. It's definitely better than what it has been in the past, but yeah, hopefully it just carries on for the rest of the round.
Well, congratulations tonight, Robbie, and great P1 in race 2, and looking forward to seeing what you can bring when we go into round 3.
Yeah, cheers.
And there we go, Dan. I had to make it a little bit juicy there.
Yeah, I know. I mean, to be fair as well, it's Yeah, great racing from these guys. Great to be watching them as always. It's really, really good fun. Like I said, it just always promotes. I'm enjoying seeing these cars, like having sort of the rear wheel drive. Adds another element of factor. It's just another element driving style, a completely different driving style as well. And yeah, I mean, cannot complain, can we? It's just been absolutely fantastic and very, very excited to go through to the next round. Speaking of which, next round, any predictions that we got going? I suppose, again, it's very too close to call. 1,000th was the gap in qualifying. I mean, that could be anyone's game next round.
Yeah, so I reckon, Jordan's going to be fair miffed with the way this round went. A DNF in race 2 is definitely not what he wanted after putting it on pole and winning race 1. I reckon he's going to come out with a vengeance, but you can see Robbie Stapleford, Alex Toth-Jones, Max Edmondson are all hot on the heels, but actually the battle lowered down the championship table as well. We saw an excellent result there from Simon Reed. Mick Sutton's up into P5 in that last race. It's really going to mix up that bottom table as well. James Haskell didn't have the best round here, neither did Lawrence Davies. So, realistically going to the next round, Robbie Stapleford's going to have a bit of a margin now in the championship, but it's really jumbled up the lower half of this championship table.
It has indeed. It absolutely has indeed. Yes, very, very excited to get out on track for round 3. And hopefully we will see you there as well, whoever is watching. But unfortunately, we do have to wrap this evening up. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the stream. Do catch us up same time next week for round 3 of the One Make Cup BMW 235i Championship. And as well, make sure, look at that, £18,700 prize fund for the League of Champions 2. If you want to get involved, make sure that you head over to the VRRC Facebook page. Make sure you join the Discord as well. You can search Virtual Reality Racing Club find them on the website. You can get all the information there. But until next time, my name is Daniel Handover, joined by Dave Marshall in the commentary box and Mike Yao on broadcasting. It's been a pleasure as always. But until next time, everyone, make sure you take care and stay safe.
Woo!